Hello and welcome to the Bible in Depth. This is a program that focuses on the Word of God. We study from Genesis to Revelation. And we've just concluded the book of Genesis. We've done 35 episodes with all the 50 chapters of Genesis. And when we finish the book, you sent in your questions that we've been responding to with different panels. And we are glad to always come and respond. We may not give you all the detail, but we'll try to explain and give an answer to your question. For those that have not yet listened to the podcasts on Genesis, I request you can check on the links on the screen. You can also go to any podcast channel and search for Bible in Depth. You'll be able to receive them. You can check on Apple, on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, on any channel that supports podcasts. You'll be able to see the episodes and you can listen. Now today I'm joined by two good friends of mine. They are married men, they are good people, and I've known them for quite some time. One of them is Stephen Kaketo. He's a security and safety consultant, and he's married and has children, good children, boys. And yes? So far he has boys. Yes. And he's looking to come to my home for girls, but we shall discuss that in a later day. And I also have Pastor Richard Sechero. He's a director of Mr. Wash Limited. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you, Alex.
Welcome, Pastor Richard.
Yes. Thank you, Alex.
It's good to have you.
Thank you.
People sent in their questions.
Yes.
And we just want to share with them, discuss with them, and see if we can respond to them.
Yes.
Yeah. And one of them asked, from the beginning of Genesis, we see marriage being instituted with Adam and Eve. Is it okay for us to say that it's fine to have planned marriages? I'll start with you, Pastor Richard.
Yeah, to be precise on that, when you want to get the original, the real thing, you go to the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was in the beginning that it was a planned and an arranged marriage. So therefore,
So from the beginning, we have a planned marriage.
absolutely.
Yes.
Who is planning it?
You know,
In that case, the dad.
Who was the dad?
God
God
was
himself.
the dad.
Dad of the...
He was in our language we say tata atesezala. He was the father-in-law, and he was also the father.
Wow. Mm.
Yeah.
yeah, he watched everything. He knew what he knew the best
Yeah.
for Adam, who
Yes.
was the first person. And I think it's one of those statements that you find when God kind of sat in their Trinity and they said, "It is not good for man to be alone."
Yes.
So that is like when he said all other things are good. It's only that statement when he says it's not good, and I think that's when the meeting started. So they sat, figured it out. They said, "Let's go back to Adam."
So in the meeting, they figure that Adam is not doing well on his own. Yeah?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So does that okay, planned marriages today? Since we see that it happened from the beginning.
For me, planned marriages are okay in the presence of God. So if God is the original who started this planned marriage, so when we're planning our marriages, if I am part of the planning of this marriage or my children, I have to be in the presence of God,
Yes.
such that I am doing right what happened from the origin. So it may be in consulting God, it may be in my relationship with God, and how God shows me different things around the whole subject of marriage. Every father would wish the best marriage for their child, except one part, that the child go enhanced by themselves. So I think we need to reconsider getting back.
Any addition to that, Steve?
I think I'm with him on that. Personally, I believe any marriage without a plan is going to be a problematic marriage.
So if it is being planned
Yes.
by the parent,
Yes.
does the person or the people involved, do they have a say? Because it's one thing for the father with the deepest desires of their children to want good for them and bring the best for them. But how about the children?
I believe the children have a say. Still in Genesis,
Yes,
to man God gave will.
yes,
So a say comes out of will.
yes.
I mean, you can't plan for an unwilling person. I wouldn't plan for an unwilling son.
Yes.
Still, that won't be a good marriage. But we see in there was need for companionship, a companion suitable for Adam,
Yes.
and this need brought these people who were in the meeting. Pastor has been talking. These three, God, the Spirit, and the Word, the Son, and they said, "It's not good."
Yes.
And when you read, it's not Eve who was the first to be presented before Adam.
Even animals.
So I don't believe that you should get a girl from somewhere and say, "We have planned for you, and this is the girl or this is the man."
Yeah.
There was an exercise of also choice,
Yes.
and I'm happy Adam didn't choose cattle. I mean, I wouldn't imagine how I would have looked half cattle, half man.
And mentioning on the issue of choice.
Yes.
Because even in their culture,
Yeah.
the ancient culture,
Yes.
even if it was a role of the parents to plan the marriages,
Yes.
we see for the case of Rebecca, she is asked,
Yeah.
"Do you accept
Yeah.
to go?"
Yeah.
So they had a decision to make as well.
Yeah, but people need to understand that planning a marriage is not necessarily that I go out and I see this girl and I say, "Oh, I have a son." See, or go out and check out this family. It's not necessarily that simple. But also preparing my son
Yes.
to be the right husband is part of planning the marriage.
Yes.
Moving out with him, and then he sees a girl, and I look at him and I know something has crossed his mind, and then we talk about it. It's part of the planning of the marriage. So people don't have to think that no, it's practically going and getting my son or my daughter a husband, or a wife. No, it is the preparation. You have girls, Alex, and Steve has boys, and the conversations begin.
They already started. we seem not to agree on a few things.
But we will get there.
I mean,
So you start to think about those things. You
Yes.
know, it's that in our context, in our generation, kids have sleepovers. You know, it's their thing. I didn't go for a sleepover.
How
No.
could you?
that could be
Yeah, how could you? You know, how could you
compared
sleep
to a murder
outside?
charge today.
Yeah, but kids have a sleepover. In my house, I have a girl that has been sleeping there 2 days,
Yes.
and before they come, it seems we agree that it's okay that girl can come because we know that family.
Who is agreeing?
The parents, because
Yes.
if I don't okay her to come in, and even if my kids want their friends to come in, they can't. But then I am comfortable that if anything happens, I know the girl, I know their family, I know that that's also part of the plan.
Yes.
So people don't have to stereotype it or put it as so old, like I get my son and I say
That is the wife you have
see,
to take.
It involves the mentoring, which most young people are looking out for today. Say that they stop the scouting and going to places to look for love where it isn't. It involves, in the context of our Christian walk, the discipleship. People are learning from the elders, and the elders are giving time and intentionality to these young people to see or do things, and that they don't repeat the mistakes we did
In preparation.
in preparation. So I am preparing them, I am planning their marriage, and we always are hoping out the best for them. So God had such intentions. He comes down, delivers, and Adam was mesmerized, looked at this beauty and said, "Oh my goodness, I haven't seen this. I've seen cattle, I've seen the giraffe.
I've seen
this one.
This one is flesh of my flesh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very romantic. And I wonder what it did. At
He must have been overwhelmed. He must have
She
been
should have
overwhelmed.
blushed.
Yeah, because Adam wasn't also ugly.
No.
Because
They have a choice anyway.
yeah, because if we all come from the source
Yeah.
must have been
Oh, yeah.
Very. Splitting image of God.
In his likeness. And prior to that, when we were discussing, we were talking about the sleep. How important is the sleep of Adam
Oh, Adam.
Yeah.
for the marriage? And one of the things we discovered, there's a lot of things that we need to sleep over. Rest. We need to rest. All
You're
the
talking
theologies.
about the sleep when Adam is
Yeah, God
sent to
caused,
sleep.
God intervened and he says, Adam is so full of animals, the
Plants.
chaos, plants. He's
Running
been-
from this end of the garden to the other.
This guy needs to take a break as I prepare the suitable companion. And I wonder whether we take a break.
But I think that a point comes in that you, now the parent who is planning,
yes.
in this case it was God,
Yeah.
but now you who has seen the need for your son's, your son to get a suitable companion, you have to bring your son or your daughter to sleep, not to take them to bed, but to calm down.
So you calm them down.
You calm them down because we are going to get something that is from your son
Yes.
to impact someone's daughter. Oh,
So in cases where you're being given a time period that Steve, you're growing old, you need to just get because time is running out. Is there a point where the sleep has to end? Because you might have someone who sleeps forever.
but the question still will come: who is causing you to sleep? Here, the planner was causing. That means the planner knows the time limit. You know, it's that planner who is saying, "Steve, now wake up. It's time."
It's time.
Yes.
And there are other parts also. Like for Isaac, what happened?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the father had to change tactics.
Yeah.
The guy wasn't moving
Moving.
faster,
Yeah.
Yes.
so the servant had to jump in.
So would you indulge in a planned marriage for your child?
God guided, I would.
What are
planning
what are those principles
Yeah.
that you'll have to walk by in this process?
In this process.
Yes.
Now, the best thing about this is that we are in the book of Genesis.
Yes.
The best principles will go to our origin.
Yes.
Now, one of the principles is in order to guide, I have to be with the guide himself,
God.
God.
So it is the beginning.
Void me of that, I will make a mistake on behalf of the person I'm planning for.
Interesting discussion there.
Yes.
We'll take a short break and we'll come back with more of the questions that you sent.
Jacob loved Joseph, mostly because he was a child of his old age, and as a result, he made him a tunic of many colors, which further stirred up envy and jealousy in his brothers, who treated him harshly as a result. Having this tunic of many colors was a mark of Joseph's distinction, for we see that with such robes, the king's children were arrayed, as recorded in 2 Samuel 13:18. Now she had a robe of many colors, for the king's virgin daughters wore such apparel, and his servant put her out and bolted the door behind her. This garment usually reached the ankles with sleeves that were long enough to hang over and cover the hands. It had a narrow standing collar fastening at the throat with 2 silk buttons and opened all the way down in the front, one side lapping over the other at the waist, where it was held by a single button. It was slit on each side from the bottom upward, halfway to the knee, and so were its sleeves halfway to the elbow. This garment was usually of stripped and figured cotton or silk and could include costlier items according to the means of the wearer. Such kind of material was known to be manufactured in Damascus and was called cloth of 7 colors, with stripes being alternately of as many bright hues, which may suggest the 7 colors of the rainbow. The coat of many colors that Joseph wore was probably of a similar nature. On the other hand, the ordinary tunic that his brothers wore was a garment worn next to the skin, reaching to the knees and usually without sleeves. This difference in dress code must have increased the level of spite and resentment that the brothers felt towards Joseph.
Welcome back to the Bible in Depth. I'm still with Stephen Kaketo and Richard Secheru discussing some of the questions you sent to us. Now, we have another question. Was love involved in this union between Adam and Eve?
Now, that question, to answer it, I still ask, was God involved?
Yes, he was.
The Bible says in 1 John, is it 7? Yeah, 1 John, it's in 1 John. For our God is love.
Uh-huh.
Now, if the preparer of the first marriage was love,
Yes.
then love was involved. Now, that's where lawyers say I rest my case. But for the sake of love, yes. For the sake of that person hearing, marriage is built on the biggest cornerstone, which is
Love.
And our God is love. So I believe love was involved in the first marriage. Yeah. In Adam and Eve's marriage.
Yes.
Yes.
Any addition on that?
I think Steve nailed it home. When the Bible says God is love, and I think that's where we get it wrong, because we want to have a definite definition of love, and yet this is God Himself.
Yes, because one of the things that troubles us most is the issue of love in the world today. Because everyone is trying to understand love. Will we understand it?
To the extent that
Yes.
it is revealed,
Yes.
but not to exhaust.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would say you have known God
And
to the
exhausted
fullest.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, and given up. So the expression, the revelation that one gets of love and expresses it is but a bit of the likeness of God Himself.
Yes.
So when it was God, was there love in the beginning? If God is
Yes.
love and He is present, His presence is already love expressed. And therefore, these two coming together, they didn't fall in love as we say today. They were in love.
Yeah.
The presence of God
Yes.
being abound already is
It's
love.
Yes.
So things falling in place in the presence of God and how they are expressed.
Does that have an impact on a relationship that can happen where one of the partners is not concerned about the matters of God? What is the dynamic there? Because if love is God Himself, and then in the relationship, there is someone who does not believe in God, where does that place this
No.
entire direction?
On that, I believe that God, believe Him or not, He's a part of you.
Yes.
And being a part of you, there is a part of love in you. Now that love might be shadowed by your unbelief. That doesn't mean there is no love.
In you.
Because God's biggest project is restoration. It's not creating new love. It's not, no. It's restoring us back to Himself, to love, to Himself.
So when this person gets in a relationship with God, he's not creating love, but rather unveiling what was existing.
It's already existent. It's like if I hid a needle under grass. To a bystander, it will be grass.
Yes.
But with revelation, with restoration of original position,
Yes.
love is in there. So even this unbeliever is just unbelieving. But in him is that. So remove that unbelief,
Yes.
there is love in there.
There is love in there.
Yeah.
So in each and every person, believer or non-believer, there is love
There is
within
love.
them. It just waits to be unveiled.
And unless if you've discovered anyone who wasn't created by love.
God.
It's God himself.
Yeah.
That's a
but now that is, he is love himself.
Yes.
So I believe that there is love in everyone, but it's shadowed,
Yes.
and we should remove those shadows.
And I think people need to find love in the right place. We find love in God himself, the source.
Yes.
That's where you find love. Otherwise, if we go by the definitions that are out there, what people think love is, when someone doesn't find it, they get so frustrated and lose their bearing. It's because you are looking for love in wrong places. So God will tell you that love can be tough. In his love, he chastens us.
Yes.
It's not pampering us. So you start to see so many things surrounding love. Whereas when you say someone, you don't seem to be in love, we're actually saying you're not having these feelings of niceness and all this. Whereas within the very fact of God's love, there is rebuking, there is correction, there is, like you love your children, you want the best for them. So people need to realize that even if it's love for a husband and wife, children, all these are in God. And they are better discovered and expressed from the source, which is God.
source himself.
And God is love.
Yes. Now, you've all worked with young people before.
Yes.
And one of the biggest troubles that we find is the issue of love. And from that experience we've had with young people, what is there a right pattern in finding a partner? Is there a right consideration in finding a partner? Is there something that has to be specific that they look at when finding a partner? Or looking for love?
Yeah.
Apart from now, the other one that we are talking of God is love. Now when we are just here on the...
Interestingly, we've been talking about it and through the discussion, we discovered that we are not looking for love. It's we are looking when God was creating a partner for Adam, he was not creating. He was not creating a lover for Adam.
Yes.
Love was making arrangement for these people to meet. So many people are not looking for suitability because songs are not telling them to look for suitability. Songs are telling them to look for this tall, whatever person. Songs are telling them to look for this person who jumps up whenever you call their name. They are not looking for love because love is already there. The problem is they are not anchored to the source of love. When you're anchored to the source of love,
Who is God?
who is God, then it's easy to look for now the person suitable for you. So when you tell me someone is out there looking for love, they are not looking for love because love is already there. In fact, if they had moved with love,
Yes.
they shouldn't be looking for love. They should be now looking for suitability.
Yes.
So we have problems with people who are looking for love, not looking for suitability, and detaching themselves from the source himself. So you find the source being feelings. Now they replaced the source with feelings, with a lot of proclamations by books, with a lot of with movements of women, feminists, and they replace the source
Yes.
with these things that now they think they are looking for.
Yes.
But the source is always there.
If I also jump in there, I love Genesis. And just within the first chapter there are a couple of things for the young people to learn. Let's look at the original script. God, who is love, is present.
Yes.
His presence is available. His word is in there. He's creating. The Spirit of God is moving.
Yes.
That already spells the environment, which young people need to understand as they look out to spouses or whatever that they are going through. It's not movies and all that, unless the movie brings that element of that environment. So that's the environment. Then there is what we talked about earlier on, the sleep of Adam. Because the responsibility of finding a mate rests a lot on the man.
Yes.
So a man needs to find what sleep means.
Yes.
Decoding, unlearning, removing all other things, and let that presence reign. Come to a place of naivety, such that when you see this person, it is that person.
Yes.
Otherwise, you are cluttered with many girls and running a bunch of them. You are not sleeping. You're too awake.
Yes.
So that's also a principle. And then we need to look at the garden.
Yes.
We need to understand this is not happening. There is a place where it is happening. And so there are things watching. There is the coolness of the breeze and the trees and things. So all other, the environment in which this love, presence of God himself is working, that you may find your mate is quite important. So if someone is saying, oh, now I'm rushing, I'm lost,
So
let me
the
go to this.
environment is very key.
Very key.
Yes.
Very key. So young people need to understand that, oh, you cannot say I'm launching out now, I'm going to this church to look for a mate. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
So that means you're too awake. You know? So let the garden flow. Let the things in the garden be alive. Take a break. Rest your case. Sleep. That is all enjoying the presence of God. You are not void of love because the presence of God is available. And then the moment you come out of your work, you will see this person. You'll be amazed that maybe this girl has been happening and has been around for many years.
Actually, for my case, my wife, I saw my wife sometime back. I don't know, I think 10 years ago. But when I saw her, I had taken 10 years when she was sitting in front of me in church, and I had never seen her. So when I went to approach, I got to learn that she already sat in front, and I sat there for 10 years.
For 10 years. And
When I
That's-
never
never
seen
noticed.
That's the wake.
And it's a very interesting discussion. But all in all, is we have to be anchored in God because God is love.
Yes.
And from that, we find the companionship. It's been a great discussion today. Thank you for joining us today on the program. If you have not listened to the podcast on Genesis, I will ask you to please check the links on the screen. You can access them through all podcast channels, Apple, Spotify, Google, and every other place. And you'll be able to listen all the 35 episodes of the book of Genesis so that we get on to Exodus after covering that. Thank you for joining us today. May God bless you. Bye-bye.
Emisinji jensi jiri mu mikono je Enesi nevi jiri mu bibie Emisinji jensi jiri mu mikono je Obwakabaka we tebukoma n'ababulimu tebasalwa banyumirwa buli okukamala ky'oba obawulira nga bayimba wakitiibwa 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 are